Hi, my name is Chadwick. I'm a DaVinci Resolve Master Trainer, and today is part 2 of my 5-part Inpainting course here on YouTube on how we're going to actually remove this logo off the side of this Ford Bronco, and this one's focusing on the painting smearing technique. So if you haven't watched episode 1, go back and watch that now. It gets to this point where we're working on a cropped version, stabilized version of this footage, and we'll start right away. So I like to always do my work on my reference frame, and the planar tracker is always going to reveal that. We've got steady frame set to 1122. That's just the frame that these corners are pinned to fill the frame. And to add the paint tool, we'll just get it from the toolbar. It should be right up there. So right next to the text tool, click your paint tool. You can do shift space paint, however you want to get to it. But we'll load the paint into the viewer over here, into the flow. And the main thing to know when we're using the smear tool, which is a lot like the drag tool and some other applications, is before we do anything selection-wise in the inspector, is we want to set this to stroke mode instead of multi-stroke. Now the difference between multi-stroke, which is what the default is here in the upper left, and stroke is multi-stroke just works one frame at a time, but it also is not modifiable, if that's a word, meaning you can't see every stroke in a list of modifiers in the tool itself. I want to be able to change things later on, but most importantly, I also want this to last on all frames. So I'm going to choose stroke, which is the third paintbrush over there. So that's step 1 to using the tool. The next thing we'll want to do is come over here to the inspector, and we'll choose this one that's right next to the stamp tool. It looks right here. If I pause, it'll give me the tooltip, but it's called Smear. Again, it's a lot like a drag tool. It's sort of like a directional blur tool. And the other thing that I'll give you a good clue on here is when I'm going to remove something really big like this, one, I want to generally have a little bit of a larger brush. And the other thing is I want to increase the strength. So I'll pump the strength up generally all the way, as well as under the brush controls and the tablet settings. So I use Wacom tablets when I paint, and that's one of my favorite things to do ever in Fusion is painting. But when I'm using the smear tool, because this is set to vary opacity and I have a pressure sensitive Wacom tablet, I find that it takes a lot of work, a lot of pressure when I want to smear stuff, and I don't want lots of work. I'm lazy. So I'm going to change this to constant instead. And so that's just a way to give it a little bit more power. So this is like full strength. This is like full power with constant opacity. The other thing you could potentially do is turn your softness all the way down, and then you could sort of drag to your heart's content if you wanted to do. I've seen a lot of Instagram things where people smear out taillights and stuff like that. This is actually a practical use of the smear tool today. Now the other thing is when we come over here into the viewer, by the way, I'm just moving around with the middle mouse click. It's the bottom on my Wacom is how I'm sort of panning around. And to scale up my brush, you can see it, that's that green circle there. If I want to scale it up, what I'm going to do is hold the Command or Control key on the keyboard. It's just Command, swiping left and right changes the size. Middle mouse is just to pan around. So Command is what I'm holding to change that brush size there. Now that I've got a larger brush, what you want to think about doing is painting in the direction of the light. And so the light source in this shot is the sun. Most of the time it's from above. So generally you want to think about going across when you're smearing things, because the light value here is much brighter than what's down below because light falls off as it goes down lower. The other thing would be the direction of the light. You also want to think of, potentially going on a diagonal. Now, this shot's already on a diagonal, but that's just something to be aware of when someone lights a key light, like this is coming in from the side. You're generally working with up and to the side when you're dealing with offsets and painting strokes. But let's get started. To smear this thing, all you got to do is place your center of your paintbrush right on the edge of what you want to start smearing or directionally blurring together. So right now, something happened and I've got that checkerboard, but as soon as I click to start painting, it should go away. But I want to place this just to the outside, so I take this red value and push it in. That's how I'm going to inpaint with this tool. So just to the outside of it, you can see, and I'm just pushing it to the inside. And what I want to do is kind of get it to a middle point between the right down the middle, and then I'll show you a trick to sort of erase it from there. So I'm just taking this and sort of following that same path. You can see how those pixels are just getting pushed along. When I come up to this section here, I need to minimize the size of the brush a little bit because I'm going to grab some of that door handle. So I'm just holding Command and dragging left to do that, so that when I grab pixels, I'm not grabbing that shadow as much. And so you can see And it's a very fluid experience when you use a tablet, because you can change the size so easily, and you just drag. And the idea is really just to get this to a really thin line that I can make disappear. Now, when we get down here to the bottom, this is often going to happen anytime you're doing inpainting or smearing, and we need to take care of this where I want to preserve this line of the ridge of the panel. And so one way you could do that is to do a little bit of clone stamping as well. And the other thing, a tip I was going to give you before we do clone stamping and finish the smearing out, is there's like an internal cache system to the paint tool. If it ever feels like it's bogging down on you and it's getting a little bit slow on your strokes, come back to this select tool in the upper left, and that sort of flushes that out. So that could be a good way to get a little bit better responsiveness, I guess is what I would say in the strokes. Now, to clone this section here, what I'm going to do is grab, again, the stroke tool, but this time I'm going to use the clone tool, which is right here. So it's a normal clone stamp style tool you've probably used in Photoshop. I'm going to turn on snap offset, which basically is going to try to keep the best quality. It's basically not going to allow sub-pixel filtering when I set my offsets with my option clicking. And I'm also going to use the overlay shortcut to do this. So what I'm going to do is choose a source, and you choose a source by hold option, and clicking with the point. You can see there's a red point right there on the viewer. And then I'm going to paint on this area here with that offset. Now, how do I line these up and see things a little bit better? Well, if you hold the O key for overlay, you can see now this is going to instruct me to where am I actually painting my clone stamp. And I can just line that ridge right up so I can get that to be as close as I can with the precision of my hand while I'm trying to teach. I will click down, and that sets the offset. And then I can start painting while seeing to make sure I'm not over painting into that lower left version of the painting. Now, I'm going to warn you one thing here. Release the O key before you release your paint stroke. So I release the O key, then I release the paint stroke. If you didn't, what's going to happen is you're going to have a second stroke in your modifiers list that's going to have that 50% overlay. You can just select your stroke over here, delete it, and you've not done anything bad, but if you just get in the habit of releasing the O key before you release your stroke, that won't happen. Now let's finish out the smearing, which is the fun part. So to set a new stroke again, I'm going to clear the cache out with hitting the select tool, come back to the stroke tool, come over here to the smear tool in the inspector. I will turn the strength up like we did before, make sure my tablet settings, vary opacity is set to constant. And then when I come over here, this time, what I'm going to do is I call it, this is a shaking method. So I'm going to shake from one side of the white line to the other side and back and forth, and it basically can make pixels disappear because it's easier to see and practice than actually talk about. So let's just do that. So I'm starting on the left side with the smear tool set, and I've got the strength turned up, and I'm just going to sort of shake left and right. As I shake left and right, you can see I'm able to make that color disappear. And if I make my brush a little larger and keep going in that same left to right direction, I've smeared away all of that color with just a couple seconds. It's a very fast process. And what's so nice about this is it's procedural. So this is going to update frame after frame after frame. If I skip to the first frame in the sequence, the color values of red should match what I had just done there. Now, to clear the cache out on this node, I'm going to hit the select key. And I'm also going to make use of the render cache for the Fusion comp node as well, just to get faster playback. I suggest you do that on paint nodes as well. Just right click on the paint node and come down to, or up to, cache to disk and say pre-render. And we can actually see there, it jumped all the way to the first frame of my sequence, frame 1001, and the overall color values there match the surroundings perfectly. And that's just using the smear tool. Now, those of you that are more eagle-eyed out there, you're probably going to notice, hey, we've lost all the detail. You just blurred it, Chadwick. And yeah, I did. But the thing is this is just step one. We're laying a base color foundation with these 3 inpainting techniques I'm giving you. And then what we're going to do is extract this so that we can add our texture and our grain back in lesson 5 that's coming up very shortly. One last step that I like to do after any of these inpainting techniques is a little bit of blur to smooth things out. Now, right now, everything still looks really nice in the viewer. It looks like it matches. But if we turn on our gain gamma sliders, again, that's holding down on that waffle button, and we gamma down quite a bit, we increase the gain a bit. One thing, I'm going to turn my select tool back on so I don't start painting. One thing you might notice is there are potentially some streaks in there a little bit. One thing that can resolve that, no pun intended, is a little bit of a directional blur in the direction of the light after your paint work. So what I would generally do is after the paint node, I would add a direction blur. You could use a regular blur as well. I'll do that with shift space. So I'm looking for direction blur. Make sure you get the fusion one. That means it's the one that has the parentheses around it. And with this direction blur, I'll load that up into the viewer. What you can do is set this to centered zoom, the type to centered, and it gives you the opportunity to basically blur based off of a center position and change the length as well. So with the blur selected, it's actually almost dead center already, but I just need to move this position here to the center of where the paint out occurred. So if I load the planar tracker into the viewer, I can actually see where the center of that is. And then I want to change the angle. The angle can be grabbed by this outside edge there. So I'm moving the angle control, and then we're just going to do a little bit of blur. Let's look at the result while we're doing it, and I'll change the length here. And so we're just blurring that paint, which actually just smudges it even a little bit more. And that right there is our final result for our smearing method. Now, I know you're noticing I've blurred and I've smeared the whole image. We're going to cut this out in step 5, so no worries about that. That's also where we're going to be adding the texture and the grain. But this is method 1 I have for doing inpainting using the paint tool set to stroke and using the smear tool. Again, my name is Chadwick. If you want to follow along with this footage, it's there for you to get and play along with. Just join the cutting club like so many of you have, and I'm so thankful for. And because there's so much more to learn, I'll see you in lesson 3 where we talk about using the channel booleans with a blur divide technique.